Well, hello and good morning, everyone. Welcome to Breakfast with Boom. I am your host, Mr. BoomStick XL. And ladies and gentlemen, we have an incredible show for you. You're going to get some quality 1080p high definition Titanfall 2 gameplay in the background. You're going to see actually how good at some games I am and how terrible I am at others. But we have to welcome in someone that has taken a leave of this show about a year ago. I think about a year ago. And man, he's back today as a guest. And I am more excited now than I've ever been. Mr. Badbit, the voice of the incredible trophy room on YouTube and all of your favorite RSS feeds. Welcome back, Joe.
What's up? Has it really been that long, man?
I think so. I think it might have been. I thought that you left at the end of 20. Maybe I'm incorrect in saying
time's
so,
an enigma, but I'm happy to be here today.
It's great to have you, brother. You've been doing some great things. You know, what could you say about the trophy room? But you do have an incredible guest, and we'll get more into who you're going to have on the show later on for your outro. I think people need to definitely check it out. It's going to be really interesting if you are someone that had a chance to play Guardians of the Galaxy, one of 2021's best single-player games, hands down. And again, like I said in my numerous interviews and reporting of it, it is the writing is James Gunn level good. But we'll get into that after. Let's welcome in the latest entry to BWB, someone that does not need an introduction, but he's going to get one anyway. Fuzzy Belvedere joined the fray officially. How the heck are you, man?
Doing pretty good. Thanks for having me. Man, it's a great, I guess you could say, gaming news week and just gaming in general. So glad to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Oh, dude, it's great to have you a part of the show each and every week. And of course, someone that does not need an introduction, but he's going to get it. The voice of Breaking Bread with Dread. Dreadpool, how the heck are you? And what did you have for breakfast today? That's always the big question of the day.
Good morning, everyone. All right, what we had today was we had some coffee. We had some donuts.
Nice.
And I was going to go back and get a bagel from one of those coffee donut bagel places. But, I got to be here, so I'm just going to starve a little. I didn't grab enough food, I guess.
Well, listen.
No, it's been great.
Well, it's great to have you a part of the show, and we're a little disappointed. I was expecting some heartiness to your breakfast, and no, it was just coffee and donuts. Very common like.
I got lazy today. Well, the thing was, I was thinking about making some pork chops, and I was gonna start cooking and everything, and I was like, well, I'm gonna be the only one eating this right at this point in time because little one's off to school, wife's waking up to do all that stuff, and start her day, so she's not probably gonna want to smell all that food like I wanted, but
oh, maybe for tonight. Yeah, absolutely, definitely close out the day with a monster meal for sure. We are still waiting on BitCloud Gaming. We are still waiting on Crispy Bomb, the best voice in the business. We'll get them in here momentarily. But you know what? I want to jump right into what's been going on, and there is a specific story that I want to open up with, and I'm doing it for very selfish reasons. As a fan of gaming, one of my most memorable times, and one of the first games that I remember playing, just completely blown away by the violence and by the fact that I was riding around in 3D. Of course, I'm talking about Twisted Metal on the PlayStation 1. It was a game that I spent hours upon hours upon hours playing. I've beaten that game over 100 times, but nothing tickles my fancy more than Twisted Metal Black. It is by far one of my favorite PlayStation games. The story, the soundtrack, the graphics, it was just absolutely astoundingly good. That's another game that I have beaten more times than I probably care to admit. But we have incredible new information. If you are someone that appreciates Sweet Tooth and all of the wacky characters that come with Twisted Metal, well, Sony's Firesprite, which is a studio that they just purchased last year, is been tasked to take over the project that was originally in the laps of Lucid Games. Now, Lucid Games did in fact bring us I guess it was kind of like a Twisted Metal meets Fortnite type of game, and it didn't really light up the I don't know, the charts, so to speak, on the PlayStation 5. It was a game that was originally going to be $70, and then Sony realized that this game would have been a flop, and they wind up dropping it as one of the first PlayStation Plus games that you could download for free. And Joe, I'm glad that you're here because I want to talk about this. Lucid Games, you know, they do have talent, because whether you liked the game or not, Destruction All-Stars, there was something there. It wasn't the worst game. The article that I pulled from, it's from our very good friends over at the videogameschronicles.com. They gave it a 2 out of 5.
Probably fair.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. If I would have reviewed it, I probably would have given it a 3. I actually played it and enjoyed it because I got that Vigilante 8 kind of a feel. I also got, hey, this feels a lot like a Fortnite with cars. Yeah. And unfortunately, it kind of fell flat. But what's interesting about this particular story is that, as spotted on Reset Era, Matt Southern, who was in fact the director over at the studio that brought us Destruction All-Stars, has been poached by Firesprite. And he is now the director, and he is going to be handling the reboot of Twisted Metal. And that's what we believe the game is going to be. It's going to be not a continuation of what happened last on the PlayStation 3, but a retelling of the story. And you know something? I'm all for it. PlayStation 5 is a powerful system. I think that if in the right hands, this is another one of those old school IPs that I believe deserves to be around in 2022 and beyond. Joe, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it's really interesting. Like, the game of choice, like, this is here to coincide with the show that's coming out in 2023 with Anthony Mackie. And with that, I'm like, you know, a part of my brain's like, okay, so is this like a TV tie-in game, or is this like something, is this the real deal, you know? But it seems like with all the restructuring, whether it's at Lucid and now Firesprite, kind of goes to show that they believe in this thing. And that's interesting, because in the age that is 2020, we're in the 2020s now.
Yeah.
Does that game, you know, I was listening to actually Jaffe last night talk about it, because this is his baby after all, and he's like, you know, how is this game going to work in the age of the PUBGs and the Fortnites and whatnot? And I don't think it's that crazy to think when we have games like Rocket League, something as so simple as like we're just playing around with physics with cars, and we have a ball in the middle, right? And that be as incredibly successful as it is. So for me, it's exciting because this is a weird property, and oftentimes, you know, PlayStation gets criticized for it not being weird like it used to be. And I think that's kind of them going, no, we still got a little weirdness in us. You know, Twisted Metal, I don't have like the biggest, like I don't romanticize it much, because, you know, back when I was a kid, I was more like a Spyro type of person myself. I'm more of like the Twisted Metal on PSP. Like, that thing was dope as hell. I love Twisted Metal on PSP.
It was really good.
So good. So for me, I'm excited at the prospects. It's something that PlayStation needs in their portfolio. They don't have many multiplayer games. The only question for me is like, is this the way I see it in my brain, this is not a $70 game. This is probably going to coincide with whatever Spartacus is, or it's just going to be $20 or free to get on that free to play, and to kind of balance out the fact that this probably won't be on all systems, probably just PC and PlayStation. So to me, I'm excited by this news. It's also interesting that it seems like, yeah, a lot of that Lucid team. So Lucid has like 2 or 3 multiple teams. It seems like one of those teams just got straight up poached. And I wonder what their feeling is about that. Like Lucid's relationship with PlayStation.
Well,
is there,
you know what? Here's a point to that.
Yeah.
Thanks to the article that I pulled again from VGC, which
Please.
I pull a lot of their articles. They are
They're great.
15 minutes away from each other, literally within driving distance. And you know, Joe, this is common fare for gaming, specifically in this generation, where if another studio that has talented folks are working on a game that those said talented folks can help with, numbers, bro, monies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm just thinking like, is Lucid giving up this, this creative director, this team, because they're maybe getting poached by another studio and PlayStation doesn't want to go, deep with a 3 studio team like they've already done with Firesprite. That's the thing, that those are the questions that come in my head when I'm thinking of this, more so the development side rather than is the game going to be good, because I hope it is. But the other interesting fact is this creative director also is the creative director of MotorStorm, and a lot of the founders of MotorStorm are in Firesprite.
Can I say something? I have to stop you right there. I got to stop you right there. Look, listen, I know that I consider the Xbox guy, and I play mostly on Xbox. That's fair. I wouldn't dare disagree with that. But I gotta tell you, man, there are. I'm very quick to remember my incredible times with the PlayStation brand for a multitude of reasons, but specifically with the PlayStation 3. In my top 3 of all time, I talk about Uncharted 2. Absolutely, one of my favorite games, hands down. But MotorStorm 1 is in my top 3 games of all time for the PlayStation 3. It was years ahead of its time. I'm heartbroken when it was announced that team was no longer a thing. And I believe that they closed that studio in 2007, if I recall. And to know that same team is working with Sony. Now, hold on a sec. This is a stretch. If Twisted Metal winds up becoming successful, and I think it goddamn sure could be, I would love nothing more than that team to be tasked to bring us a modern version of MotorStorm. And I think that could happen. That's a game that is beloved. Ask any racing fan, and they will mention MotorStorm. But Joe, please continue.
No, and that's the thing. I think out of all the studios, it's probably the 2 that are like the most exciting is like Blue Point, because they are making Bloodborne. Just say it with confidence, say it with gusto, it's happening.
So basically, the love of your life is coming back.
Yeah, no, it's coming back, because again, I'm willing it into existence. But Blue Point and Firesprite, because Firesprite, it seems like they're working on so much. Like
what two underappreciated gets for PlayStation last year? Like, they came out, first of all, the Blue Point thing, it leaked. Japan Studios did it before. So if they, I still was excited for PlayStation fans, and I happen to be one of them, because freaking Blue Point, they're freaking amazing, right?
Yeah, they're great.
Good on Sony for locking down that, but the Firesprite one, very under the radar. Under the radar.
Because they're working on like the Horizon game, they're working on this Twisted Metal game, and then they're also working on, like, if I'm not mistaken, another multiplayer game or a like dark fantasy game. So like it's and again, my sinus headache, that could be all lies. So like I'm very curious of what that team's up to, because man, they see incredible promise out of them. to just straight up buy them without a commercial product on the shelf tells you that they know that they have something. So yeah, I'm excited. But it's also at the same time, it's strange news. It's strange.
Yeah. It is. It's strange, but you know something. Like I said, one of the things that Joe, I'm gonna kind of piggyback off what Joe said and bring this to Fuzzy Belvedere. Fuzzy, one of the things that Joe said that was very interesting that we have heard. If there has been one complaint about Sony, it's the weird and wackiness that seemed to have been removed from their DNA. And I have to say that yes, we're going to get another Uncharted. We're going to get another God of War. We're getting another Horizon. Hell, we're even getting Horizon in VR. And holy shit, I'm so excited for that. But it's one of the things that I love, and I've said this publicly, I love about Sony. They are not afraid to go into their back catalog and pull out an old IP. We've seen that time and time again. Twisted Metal is a franchise that was amazing in its day and could in fact be amazing. And Joe, once again, brother, great point on the soccer cars. I mean, this that game is that studio was a couple of handful of people when that game first came out, and look at what they're doing now. It is a freaking phenomenon. So, could a car combat game garner that kind of success? I kind of think it could, specifically when you like. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be free to play. I'll pay $70 for this game, no problem, because I'm a Twisted Metal stan. There's no question about that. But if they are looking to grab something that Sony is missing, and that's the multiplayer aspect. Yeah. Get into the multiplayer aspect, bring a free-to-play Twisted Metal Black. You can get your money by downloading skins, buy different cards, because there is a lot of story behind Twisted Metal, and there's a ton of characters. Hell, I expect there are going to be new ones. Yeah. Fuzzy, what are your thoughts on this deal?
Well, I'm really excited as far as for them trying to bring back a Twisted Metal, and you had made mention of one of my favorites from the PS3 era being MotorStorm, although kind of like a spiritual successor. Some of the devs also went to Codemasters and made Onrush, although it didn't hit as well.
Onrush, oh my, dude, talk about that for a hot second. People, I am telling you right now, Onrush is a forgotten gem that is one of the best, fastest racers that I guarantee you did not play. Yeah. It's so good.
Yeah, it was so much fun, and there is a definite need for like a Carmageddon Twisted Metal type game these days. I mean, yes, Forza's out there and it's a ton of fun. You got Gran Turismo's coming out in March, so for sim racing or even arcade style racing, there's plenty of room, but a car combat type of game would definitely be a shining star right now, because Wreckfest, I'll be honest, was awesome as far as just crashing into other cars. But if you have something where you can shoot rockets, that's not like a Mario Kart thing with turtle shells and stuff, I think there's definitely a need for something like that now, and to have them, double down or go into more focus for this Twisted Metal, an upcoming title. I'm all for it. I just can't wait until they get closer to an unveiling and showing what it's going to look like. Now, as somebody that played Destruction All Stars, it had potential. I think the biggest thing for me that I didn't particularly care for was like the sideways bump that they would have, where it wasn't as not that it needs to be realistic, but it wasn't like a car handling thing. Like cars don't slide or scoot sideways when the tires are facing forward, so that was kind of off.
And the other thing, Fuzzy, too, the thing that Destruction All Stars missing was guns and explosions. Yeah. But like, if you missed a car, which chances are you are, it's like you missed the moment, and it took the fun away from that moment.
Yeah,
So
there's things they could have done to kind of work on that game or evolve that game that make it better, but it just didn't hold my attention as much as I thought it would. But there is still a lot of potential in that. But having something like you said with guns, shooting rockets or when you're on foot, if you were able to shoot at the cars and do more damage other than calling in like a special where you're throwing blocks or whatever, I think that would have been a much better approach. And I think something like a Twisted Metal would definitely carry that. And hey, a lot of people are talking about having more multiplayer games, outside of like an Uncharted or Factions type of thing. And I think this would be a huge time sink for PlayStation fans out there for multiplayer that is from first party. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, so am I. Absolutely. This is, again, it's a franchise that it's been dormant a bit, and the last one that they launched didn't hit well at all. In fact, it did terrible. The one that came after Black, and Let's Choose Metal Black is, again, in my top 5 of all time for PlayStation, because it's just I love the series. I've been a fan ever since. I've played and beaten them all. The last one, it didn't hit with me. They changed so much of it that it just I couldn't get into it. The most craziest thing, and I'm a huge fan of it. But Dreadpool, let's get your opinion on this. Not the biggest story of the day, but Firesprite taking over dev responsibilities for Twisted Metal, and based on the wording, again, this is not confirmed. I'm only assuming here. It sounds like they're doing a remake of, well, they're rebooting the series as opposed to just continuing what we know and love, and that obviously that's open to interpretation of whether that's going to be good or bad. We don't know. Because everyone loves, Sweet Tooth and some of the other characters. So are they going to change that he is a serial killer or he's just a maniac? I hope not. But what are your thoughts on this?
Twisted Metal? Take my money.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, let's do this.
Thank you.
Let's get it out here now. What are we waiting on? How come we just let's get the controllers? Let's go. I mean, come on now. We've all, well, for those of us that used to be back in the day PlayStation OGs, we used to play that all the time. I mean, we used to play multiplayer games all the time and had fun with all this, so it's something like this is nostalgic for us, you know what I mean? So there's a lot of people that I've talked about Twisted Metal before and some other stuff, when you bring up Homie the Clown and everybody's looking at you, you're like, in living color, don't you know? And they're like, I'm too young for that. This is the same thing. You're talking about Sweet Tooth and people don't know what you're talking about.
So they don't know who Homie the Clown is what you're saying.
No, they don't know who Homie the Clown is. And when you say Homie don't play that, and they're like,
oh my God, they're like, what are you, from the 90s? Yeah, man.
Yes.
Yes, I was born in the 1900s. Think about that.
God, it's scary.
Okay, but seriously, there are certain people that, certain ages that don't know anything about this. And when you're talking about Sweet Tooth, they look at you funny. And you're like, the clown, the cars, nothing. No.
Yeah, no.
So, but
sad.
this is, yet again, this is something that's good for us. This is something that we need to have. When you look at bringing something back like this is good. It's been, let's call it for what it is. It's been dead for a little bit.
Yeah.
But something like this, whether it's a reboot, I'd rather have it be a reboot / remake type deal. Just start it over, make it better, bring it up to today's standards. Throw that little finesse of old time stuff that we used to have, and then tweak it with today's something new and exciting for everybody. So what when it comes to stuff like this is when it's good to do these games. It's been too long.
Yep.
Bring them back, and I'm sorry, I'm excited for this. This is awesome. I hope they do well. They've got a good, I'd say, well-rounded teams because of how they're putting it all together. So I think, I hope, God, I hope they don't screw this up. But I think they'll do good.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this: the last time, if you're curious, as the last time PlayStation owners like us who got an actual new Twisted Metal, 2012, folks.
2012.
So we're coming on. It's 10 years. It's 10 years. It's a decade since the last time we played Twisted Metal. my biggest fear on this is that they overlook the fact that there is a single player campaign, and they say, oh, let's just make this multiplayer. I don't think I think it could live in both worlds. Again, it's.
I think if it's multiplayer only, this thing's free to play. It
100%.
has to be.
100%.
It has to be.
Yeah,
I ain't paying. No. I think we've seen the success of Halo, and we've seen the failures of Battlefield. So like, I think this would be free. And air quotes. And if it is a single player component, you know what I was thinking while Dreadpool's talking there? Yo, what if they just, and again, because it's like my single player mindset over the shoulder, the other person. What if like this game is like Mad Max, the Mad Max game?
I was literally thinking about that while you guys were talking, and I was waiting.
Yeah, like that would be cool, because I haven't played it myself, but I've only heard excellent things about Mad Max on PS4, and having that car combat with like, get out of here, go into this, the literal Thunderdome and like duke it out. That'd be interesting, like a Rage-esque aesthetic, wasteland that you're traversing. That'd be really cool.
Again, if they're gonna bring it back, to bring it back and just be the same as it was in 2012 and earlier, that would be, to me, a wasted opportunity. I think that they are going to do something different, and maybe the characters themselves are going to be more, personalized.
Could you imagine a storyline where you're playing?
Can imagine it. Yes,
not just the storyline where you're watching the scenes and the play out. Like you're actually like Mad Max, like we brought it up, where you're actually walking around doing stuff. Dude. You know what I mean? As each character have, like how Mortal Kombat has each character has their own background storyline. You do the same thing with these characters. It all mixes in together, and you walk around, you do your thing, and if you're a psychomaniac killing people, clown, you do your thing. This is what you're supposed to do. You get in the car and you just smash things with the car. Just run people over. A little bit of old school GTA style.
That would be great. Real quick, I got to shout out JC Claremore, who drops a very generous $2 super chat, but it's what he says that is so freaking awesome. He says, "Boom, my wife thinks you sound like Emerald the chef." Well, I wish I had his money. I'm going to be honest with you. His money and his skill. Bam, yeah. Oh, man. That will tell your wife, thank you very much for the compliment. That is pretty cool. And thank you, dude, for the generosity. Again, it's greatly appreciated. First of all, let's welcome in Crispy Bomb.
What's up?
He may not be a chef, but he knows how to cut a steak. What's up, brother? How the hell are you?
Oh, good. I heard some Twisted Metal in the house.
Well, you know what? I'm glad that you're here for this, because you are our resident multiplayer guy, right? We know that you like a nice single player story like everyone else, but you're in it for the multiplayer. And we have word, thanks to VGC, that Firesprite has been handed the reins here, take over the Twisted Metal project, and Matt Southern, who was the director on numerous games like Destruction All-Stars, is now been poached and will be working at Firesprite exclusively on this project. What do you want to see come out of a reboot of Twisted Metal?
I want to see Twisted Metal. It's been a long time, hasn't it?
10 years since the last one.
Yeah, I want to see Twisted Metal. How about you just make a Twisted Metal first, and then we'll go from there.
I like it.
Well, and you got to look at, Destruction All-Stars. They got to learn from their mistakes. They need a multiplayer game. I mean, they need to start bringing out some multiplayer games here. So this is a good start. I don't know, as long as, like I said, if they do a Twisted Metal properly, it's been 10 years, then we start talking about expanding. Because if you're going to reboot it, you might as well do it right and give these kids that have no clue about it, this game that is kind of wild. Like, I mean, Sweet Tooth, what a character. I mean, you know what I mean?
Dude, so freaking good, man.
So it's one of those crazy games that, I grew up with. I didn't play Black because that was on PS3.
My favorite one.
Yeah, I didn't play that.
Time, dude.
I might have played it once at a friend's house. I don't remember, but I played like every single other one. I also played which I thought was a very good rivalry. They had Vigilante 8 for a little bit there. You know, they had a little rivalry going. That was always fun because I could go to both games and they both had their different quirks, but they really pushed each other at that time, and it was really cool. So I mean, I'm looking forward to it. You might get me to get a PS5 now if you're talking Twisted Metal, because that pulls out the heartstrings for me. So.
Again, it's funny you say that, because I was saying that before. One of the things that I love about PlayStation and what they're not afraid and have not been afraid in the past to do is revisit older IPs and give them new life in new ways. Twisted Metal Black was very much like Twisted Metal. It was almost like a reboot of the original, because it really did have all the characters. It had all the story. The 2012 one, I just took a look at it. I did play it. I just, I didn't play as much as I probably should have, but it wasn't that great of a game. This is an opportunity for PlayStation to do two very important things. One, like you just said, bring multiplayer to the PlayStation brand, which a lot of people have been asking for. And of course, at the same time, bring back one of those OG IPs that I think could actually do good in 2022 and beyond. So I like what you're putting down there, Crispy.
Yeah, I mean, it makes total sense for them to do this, and there's not a lot of games like Twisted Metal. I mean, it's really it's a unique game, and it's just like one of those games you just go in there and have fun. I mean, you're gonna have some crazy stuff. There's no reason to get super mad at the game, because people are just flying around and getting power ups and using their specials, and all of a sudden you're just dead, and you're like, oh wow, cool, and then you move on, and that's the cool thing. So they could do some cool stuff like kill cam, stuff like that. Maybe like even like car finishers, they could do some wild stuff, you know what I mean? So it would be definitely cool. I mean, hopefully it comes out sooner rather than later, but I mean, they're just starting, so we're talking another 4 years probably.
I don't know.
This one they say next year. So
well, I think there might have been a significant amount of it already done, because the team that brought us Destruction All-Stars has been working on it for quite some time. Maybe they hit a wall. Maybe that what they have is great, and that's why they're bringing over the creative director. It makes sense, like he knows what's going on.
Yeah, whenever that show's coming out, that's when this game comes out.
Yes,
okay.
Interesting.
Yeah.
And it's funny. I
synergy.
No, that makes perfect sense. I just noticed that I had everyone on the bottom of the screen, and I'm like, that view doesn't look really familiar. Oh, that's why, because I had the wrong camera view. Anyway, listen. What I want to do is this. I want to go on to the next story. Folks, this one, and I'm glad that for a lot of reasons that Joe's here, besides his beautiful face and his incredible intellect when it comes to gaming, specifically on PlayStation. This is the strangest freaking story of 2022. Now, mind you, we're only 14 days. We're in half a month into the new year, and I'm sure we're going to get even more wacky ones. But here's the thing. I pulled a story from Polygon.com, and this has been reported on by numerous sources. I just happen to like the way that Polygon wrote it out. It was written by Owen S. Good, and it was dropped on January 12th. And I thought that this was worthy of a conversation because we have BitCloud, who should be here momentarily. And, of course, we have Joe. And the story reads, Sony keeps PlayStation 4 factories churning new consoles to relieve the pressure of the PlayStation 5 demand. And this comes the way of Bloomberg, who reported this. And according to their inside sources, and Bloomberg is extremely reputable. Now, I'm not going to say that they don't get it wrong, because everyone gets it wrong at some point, but they posted this story. And according to Bloomberg's inside source, the company had planned to stop making PlayStation 4 consoles at the end of last year, but instead will continue to produce those consoles in 2022 to alleviate the strain coming from manufacturing and shipping the PlayStation 5, which is still very hard to find. Now, Joe, I want to go to you first on this, because this is wacky. the one thing that jumped for me right off the page, and I don't know if this is true, this is just an assumption. You know, Jim Ryan has gotten himself in a bit of trouble numerous times, specifically with the generations quote. We believe in generations. And of course, he went back on it, and it was, listen, we're not going to go back to that story. It was egg on the face, and he probably should have been a little bit more coached better in what he responded to. But with this particular story, what it said to me is, we know that Horizon is going to be cross-gen, right?
Yeah.
We know that Gran Turismo is going to be cross-gen. We also know that the God of War, at least that is the rumor, is going to be cross-gen as well. Yep. When I hear that they are going to continue manufacturing the PlayStation 4 to somehow relieve the strain of the PlayStation 5, I'm a little taken aback by that, because what it says to me is that, well, they plan to make these generational titles for the PlayStation 5, and maybe we're going to see this potentially, again, this is just an opinion, folks, move into 2023 and see some of those games get moved over or back onto the PlayStation 4. What are your thoughts on this story?
I'm glad that I'm here to talk about it, because I am the sensible PlayStation person. And as a sensible PlayStation person, I'll start with this. I love seeing all these people that like trash on Xbox folks for their original tweet have to do like the hula hoop dance of like trying to walk back their statements. It's great. It's great because you just see how stupid the whole console war stuff really is.
Yes.
And so like for me, we took a question this week about this issue, I'm going to call it. I don't think it's big. But when it comes to the PlayStation 1, that was in production from 95 to 2005. PS2,
very, very long time. A lot of people don't know that, Joe.
Very long time.
So speak on that. Yes.
Yeah. PS2 was from 2000 to 2013. Oh boy.
Longest manufactured console.
That's right. PS3, man, they wanted to cut that thing short, 2017, and then PlayStation 4 is still active. So when it comes to like their more successful consoles, and just you see this in manufacturing, that's why you're not seeing any more Xbox Ones, is like if the console's still shipping units, they're gonna still ship those units. I know like they were still making games for the PS2 until like a few years ago. So to me, it's not a big deal because we've just seen this over and over again. The reason why it's a big deal is because the fanboys have made it the big deal, right? Those people that, the Lion Ryans or the, what's the Phil Spencer one that they make fun of Phil Spencer for? I don't know.
Well, I mean, one of the biggest ones,
too beautiful of a smile, Phil.
Yeah. The VR thing was a big one. Oh, we're gonna do VR, and then we're not doing VR. They still talk, but it's dumb.
So to me, it's more of like that issue. So like to me, like I don't care. I don't care about them. So to me, I'm more of the lines of the part of the article, and I get it because I'm the only goddamn fool that pays for Bloomberg. That goes, the increased production orders by adding the cheaper PlayStation 4 would give Sony more leeway in negotiating with manufacturer partners for a better deal, two people behind the production have stated, anonymously, of course. So that's the other thing. By treating your partners well that are currently printing out PlayStation 5s, by printing out PlayStation 4s that don't use probably the same silicon as the PlayStation 5, that gives them the leeway of like, hey, look, we're playing nice with you here. We're helping you out. It's kind of a scratch my back, scratch your back situation. My father does that a lot with his trade when it comes to using cheaper ink or using cheaper boxes. He works in a printing press. So like, that's actually a normal thing that you see behind the scenes. So to me, I'm like, oh, all right, so they're making PlayStation 4s to make sure that they get a better deal when they're negotiating for PlayStation 5 parts.
Yeah.
All right. And at the same exact time, I worked at a school for a short period of time. Dude, there's still kids psyched for PlayStation 4s. Like this one kid, he's like, yeah, if I can't get a PS5, I'm going to go get a PS4. I'm like, what game are you playing? And you know what killed my soul? He said Fortnite.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that. I had a feeling.
And I'm like, what?
Yeah,
no.
No,
but like
don't admit that.
Yeah, don't admit that. So yeah, that's all it really seems like to me. It's more of a production strategic approach more than anything. And honestly, it's kind of a good problem to have if you're PlayStation, and it's a good problem to have, or it's a good thing to have if you're Microsoft, because the one thing that people have highlighted was, wow, in retrospect, the Series S was a remarkable strategy to use, because it's really helped them in the distribution process. And nobody saw that coming, because nobody thought, factories in Indo-Asia would be going on fire and blowing up and causing this whole chip shortage. So like, it's really interesting to see how circumstance has benefited Xbox by just sheer circumstance. And if you're PlayStation, it's a good problem to have, because your PlayStation console's so goddamn popular that you can't make enough of them. But it is a problem that they do need to probably rectify. And that also means on both sides, this generation that we're in now, it's going to be a long generation like the Xbox 360 or the PlayStation 3 was.
Yeah, this is going to be it's going to be long. But speaking of Microsoft and what they're doing with the Series S, what's interesting is when you look at this, Microsoft stepped in it and they did it. They did not see, like everybody here on this panel, everybody in the chat, everybody in the freaking universe. No one saw a pandemic happening, right? No one saw this happening. And when they were releasing the S, they caught a lot of slack from a lot of people, community members, many people within the press. They were like, "This is dumb. This
it's going to hold back this generation." There was a whole conversation. Yeah.
And it turns out that Microsoft, like I've said before, I called it the Trojan horse, but they really did have the last laugh here, because what they wind up doing is they were able to do a multitude of things, which are that go under the radar. And I'm going to talk about it right now. Besides being able to produce the Series S, which is one that you can still find. Like I just found one for my for a birthday present for one of my family members. And it's going to be a big deal, because next gen hardware, regardless of whether the S, the X, the digital, the non-digital PlayStation 5, freaking hard to find, man. And what Microsoft was able to do was churn out the Series S, and it's why they won Black Friday. It's why they won Christmas, and it could potentially even be why they may, again, I don't know, I don't have the numbers in front of me, may win in January, because the console is available. And Joe, if you remember, and you and I, we didn't get a chance to talk in a while, there were actually people using that. Well, the console's available, so Microsoft is stupid.
Yeah, to me, yeah, like, so the one thing that I have seen, it's anecdotal, of course, but like I've seen people go, I'm settling. I'm going to go get a Series S because I can't find an Xbox Series X. Or more importantly, I've seen a lot of people go, I can't find a PS5. And like literally people in my community, I'm going to go see what this Xbox Series S is, because the investment is so,
it's almost on the level of impulse buy.
Yeah.
You see,
and so they're just like,
I
see it. It's here in the store. Yes, it's not flying off the shelves like the X or the PS5, but it's doing numbers because people are genuinely curious. And that is the thing that I think is hurting PlayStation, is the fact that they can't print enough of these out, because now people are genuinely looking around going, okay, it's time to settle. I can't find this thing. I'm going to go somewhere else. I'm going to build a PC. I'm going to go see if I can't find one of these Xboxes with the Game Pass everybody's talking about.
And you
That
know
is,
something
I
real
think,
quick, let me just
true
add to
threat.
that. Let me just,
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt you
No,
again, Joe.
Go for it. That's all
Right
point.
now, with all of the new consoles, there is advertising either on the console or they're telling you in the store, you get Game Pass for 3 months for $1. So, I mean, holy crap, you spend 300. Like the console I wound up getting comes with, they're free to play, but both Fortnite and soccer cars, but they have a whole bunch of DLC that's in there. You know, you get a 1,000 V-Bucks, you get a bunch of cars you can download, which is great. It's, because obviously it's a digital system. But if you're spending 300, even if you are a die-hard Sony fan, there is going to be eventually an Xbox game. You're like, yeah, that's Starfield, man, or X, Y, and Z. I can't get that on my PlayStation. So you know what? I can't even find a freaking PlayStation 5 right now. Let me drop the $300 and let me get this Game Pass for 3 months and see what this is about. And they are converting a lot of people, Joe.
Yeah, this generation's looking to be a lot closer, and that is awesome because, like, I genuinely I hate the us and them mantra, because the PlayStation seeing what Xbox is doing with Game Pass, and they're just like, we want that, and so they're making it, like they're answering it because they see that, oh crap, they're ahead of us here on this one thing. How can we make this thing work with our thing? And so, like, that's a really cool, interesting thing is, like, will we see, I think we will see another SKU of the PlayStation 5. Is it a light version? Is it a pro version? Because that, there has been talk, because that's how you're going to alleviate that production supply, is creating that different SKU. Oddly enough, I'm not a production expert, but yeah, so it's interesting, man. I dig this news, and I feel like a lot of other folks outside this podcast are not having this type of conversation, because it's way more interesting other than like, haha, Jim Ryan, right? It's like, no, like, this is actually really exciting for like so many reasons.
Dude,
not because,
absolutely. Look, Highlander 001 in the chat. I'm going to throw it up on the screen so everyone can check it out. He says something that's very interesting, Mr. Badbit. I was at Best Buy, and the sales associate told the couple that they did not have any PlayStation 5s. And then he said, you can get a PlayStation 4 or Xbox Series S for the same price.
Yeah. People are looking, man. People are looking. And hopefully it gets better, because I want people to have their next gen systems. And I hate to say, like, it should be current gen at this point, but like, yeah, like I want everybody to get
this. They're saying 2023, Joe.
Yeah.
Before we start to get some normalization into the regions, and that's freaking scary, bro.
That's a long time. And so that's the other thing that people also should realize here is, like, the previous gen versions of games, yeah, you're gonna probably see them still for the next year or two, and that goes on both sides, because it is a thing. There's not enough of these consoles, so they need that day one money, man.
Absolutely, they do. Yeah. Listen, let's get Fuzzy Belvedere into the conversation. Fuzzy, again, strange story. Yeah. It makes sense for Sony at this point, because from what we understand, at least in 2022, 3 of their biggest first-party IPs that are scheduled to launch. And again, we know Gran Turismo, sure. We know Horizon is next month. Those locks, those have already been confirmed for both cross-gen, both PS4, PS5, which is great, especially if you can't find a PlayStation 5. At least you won't miss the game. God of War, I think it's going to come out. I kind of changed my tune a little bit, only because last year we got word that the mocap actor, I felt so bad for him. He had a multitude of surgeries. He did his knee, his shoulder, I think something in his back. And I'm being held together by rods and screws and pins. So I understand what that's all about and how hard it is to come back. But we heard that he's been doing the work. So I might have changed my stance a little bit. I mean, if it's close, they push it. If it's done, they release it in the holiday, probably somewhere around November, which would be great, because I want to play the next God of War. I want to play Ragnarok. But it's going to be on the PlayStation 4 as well. So if you don't have a PS5, you're not going to be like, oh man, what do I'm only watching videos. I can't stand this. I want to play. You may not be able to get a PS5 in November of this year. You just might not be able to unless you follow someone like if you're tenacious and you follow someone like Wario64. That dude is legit as they come. Also, D-Batch from RDX. He's another one that's been out there. He's been putting it down for people. So follow D-Batch or Warrior 64 if you really want the skinny on when these consoles jump in there. But what are your thoughts on Sony doubling down on creating more PlayStation 4s?
I mean, it definitely makes sense considering how they've done with previous generations of consoles. But I think at some point we're all going to look back and see the biggest culprit in all of this, outside of increased demand and the pandemic and whatnot. I think the biggest culprit is scalpers. I mean, I know there's only but so much that can be done. I know Sony has made all the efforts to do like the email invites, and even those seem to get snatched up and stuff like that. But in the grand scheme of things, it just seems like I wish there was an easier way to put said console in consumers' hands that wants it. I mean, there are plenty of people that want it, that have the means to be able to get the console at retail, but somehow these scalpers are beating everybody to the punch, hook, line, and sinker type of deal. So I think that's something that all of these companies really need to look at, and all of these websites that do online shopping, since in-store shopping is not as easy of a means considering what's going on. But I think the big thing now is, would have PlayStation done better to do a kind of like a light SKU, kind of like what you guys had hinted to, almost like the way the Series S is in the beginning? I don't know if that would have really benefited them in that regard, because once again, scalpers would have probably, focused or targeted that particular console just as much. But it just seems weird now that they've had to like backtrack on some of their predictions or their estimates on what they wanted to produce, just because, supply isn't really there. And when you got a ton of supply on shelves, it makes sense for them to continue churning those out. Like Joe was saying, when you have a business where you can, not really manipulate price, but like negotiate better deals on upcoming builds and things like that, or runs, it's always good to kind of keep those supply chains going. But otherwise that stuff would have been there for like, fix or repair for PS4s. And I mean, other than the noise of the fan, I've never had a problem with a PlayStation 4, and I don't really foresee them ever having like break issues or anything like that. So those parts would have pretty much sat in mothball otherwise. But right now, just scalpers are making it terrible for everybody. At least that's how I see it.
The industry needs to do better. And one of the things I'm not a government kind of, I don't want the government moderating anything that I do, but there are some things that they do specifically in this area of conversation where they're making it hard for these companies to ignore that these freaking these bots exist.
Yeah, they've just done something. I forget what it was. It was something to do with tax regulating purchases above $600. Mm-hmm. So like they would have to, like, all these scalpers would have to actually like put all the consoles on their taxes type of stuff. And the government would get a fee type of stuff. So like that stuff, I think weeds out a few, but even then it's like, if I'm getting like 15 PlayStation 5s or whatever, then like maybe I don't really like my margins decrease because of that tax stuff, but I'm still getting a crap ton of money.
It definitely is a problem. And real quick, I just got to shout out a couple of people. One super chat comes in from Pixel Bit G, generous friend of the show. He drops a $5 super chat and says, does Sony realistically have a light option with no current development path to support it? Wouldn't they need to retool their development kits to target it? And that's interesting because Gameonomics, who's been a member for 2 months or no, 3 months, he says this. Do you think Spider-Man 2 and Wolverine will release on the PlayStation 4 since they are making more PlayStation 4s and shortages might continue for a while? And that's another fantastic question. To the first one, Pixelbit, I think that they are going to have to retool. And for Gameonomics, here's the thing. We can easily just look at this from two sides of a coin, and you just flip it, and 50% you're going to win, 50% you're going to lose. If Sony is in a position where they don't have enough millions in the PlayStation 5s available out there, not in scalpers, not 25% of the populace not activated because they're sitting in some asshole's basement. No, I'm talking about actual gamers like us who play these things, who buy these things to actually play. If they don't have enough, it almost dictates that they have to, because they're leaving millions and millions of dollars on the table. I would not be the one to make that call, look at the board and say, hey, we kind of want to move everyone to the next gen, but you know what? That 120 plus million people, forget them. I mean, that's just crazy.
I mean, that's a great point. I also see like Spider-Man coming to PC. Let's be real.
Oh, yeah, 100%, dude. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I actually see I see both of them in like some sort of like a mega pack. You know, 2018, Miles Morales, all in for your PC.
Honestly, it really does depend, because that's a terrific question. Terrific question. Hats off to you. Because it really does depend on how many PlayStation 5s are out there by the end of 2023. You know, if they have, 40, 50 million of them out there, they're fine. They go put that on PS5. Go put that on.
Even if only
PC.
10% of that sold of the 50 million, let's just say again, it's trying to see hypothetical numbers. 50 million PlayStations by the end of 2023. Unlikely, sure, but let's just say for shits and giggles there are. I think that they lock that behind the PlayStation 5 because they can afford. That 10%, which is the average, 10, 12% of said populace buys this first party. And at that point, Marvel, the MCU, which Sony is very, very in tuned with, is moving into Secret Wars, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at the trajectory for the MCU and Kevin Feige and all of those IPs, just read the room. They're moving into Secret Wars. That's why Doctor Strange is going to be as big as Spider-Man No Way Home, because the multiverse has been exploded open, right? So
also, if you asked me 2 months ago if we'd see Spider-Man on Xbox one day, I would say yes. But like with the success of No Way Home, no.
100%. They're gonna get that success simply from PlayStation people.
Yeah, I think as long as both sides are completely happy, that is staying there, man. But 100%. That's a great question, because PS4 is still so many. But that is a game as well. I think it sold upwards of 20 million units. So like that's
well, was Spider-Man 2018?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, well past 20 million.
So
past 20 million for sure. And Miles Morales, no slouch, man.
Yeah, man. It's impressive.
Yeah. Anything else you'd like to add, Fuzzy, before I bring Dreadpool into the conversation?
No, that's it. I mean, the Scalper situation, force them to get business licenses and take it to the next level, maybe. But I think that's kind of like the not really the overlooked topic, but something that just seems to need to be resolved or rectified in some sort of way.
And actually, Fuzzy, now that you say that, that's actually a good deterrent, because let me tell you something. I had to file for an LLC last month. Whoa, do I never want to do that ever again in my whole entire life. Whoa, does that suck so bad.
A lot of work, yeah.
It's better to do an incorporation type of thing than an LLC, but it to even get to that point is even, no, I've gone through that, and it's an expense and a headache of chasing paperwork for your state and wherever you're going to do business at. So it's not easy.
No.
Well, listen, Dreadpool, what are your thoughts on PlayStation doubling down on bringing more PlayStation 4s to the masses in place of a PlayStation 5 that they're having a hard time getting out there? What is this a good move for Sony?
I don't think it's even a move. It's
business.
something that we're missing. That I'm listening to everybody, waiting for somebody to like catch on it, and someone almost did. Okay. You got to remember the machinery to make these consoles, right? If you already have it, your tooling for it, wouldn't it make sense to just keep on making it? It's cheaper. You don't have to break down, because you got to remember these things are pushed out in batches, right? So all these consoles, you have to order so many before they're done making them, and
Yep.
then order to shift it over, just like with Xbox. What do we have? The Xbox One X. When everybody was like, "Oh my God, they stopped making them." Yeah, they only made so many, and after this, they're shifting everything they have to the series. Literally, they still had so many that they had to push out, and then they have it. Now here, when it comes to this is the same thing. They have so many that they've already probably pre-ordered, and they have to finish them. Now, what do? You tear it apart and machine for the new consoles, right? So the ones that are done, you do that. The ones that are not, well, now here's a thought. Do we tear this thing down and spend more money so we can get more consoles out for the PS5s? Or do we just leave it, save the money, and now we have competition on the lower end, So it's not really the same as, oh, you don't like the Kinect on the Xbox One? Well, we have a console for you. That's a PlayStation 3, or I'm sorry, the Xbox 360, which ended up being a PS3 anyway. Everybody shifted over towards the end to the PlayStation. But that's the same thing. Is if you already have it going, why stop and spend the money that you don't need to spend just yet? Because that's a whole bunch of stuff. Think about it. All that tooling, all that machinery, they throw it out. Once it's no good, it's no good. They could reuse certain things, yes, but not all of it. It's gone. I used to work in an assembly line. I used to work building monitors from scratch, and these were CRT monitors. They're not what we use now. But I used to do all that stuff. So when it was done with that model, you're done. You don't go back. You throw all that stuff away that you don't need. You utilize what you need and you can use, and those are the little iteration jumps of, oh, well, now we can do this with this thing here. But the motherboards all get changed, right? The basic stuff like the CRT tube was the same. Same thing here, right? They can use what they can use, but when you look at the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 5, how much of it are they really reusing between the two? None, right? So that's a lot of stuff that they got to tear apart and put back together, versus saying, hey, you know what? You're still making these for us. Let's make a deal. It's cheaper for them to make it in the long run, right? What do we always say? It's always most expensive to buy for us. It's not, but for the manufacturers, it's always most expensive at the beginning of these launches, right? So when these consoles come out and people are like, "Oh, I'm buying two, I'm supporting it." No, you're not. You're really not. You're supporting them in the long term, but you're not really supporting them in the midterm, because you just stop them from being able to sell software to justify those consoles. They're not making that money in the consoles. Here they are, because it's already been taken care of.
It's been years, so they're definitely making a profit.
So this is an easy choice for them to do, and I don't know why it seems so amazing. Like, oh my God, it's not next gen, but you still want to play some good games, right? There's good games still on the PS4. There's still games that are still coming out for the PS4 that are coming out for the PS5. Ratchet and Clank, that was never going to happen, can be played on the PS5, and also a PS3, right? Granted, that dev kind of over.
I have a feeling that's going to be one of their games that they drop this year for holiday. It
right.
only makes sense.
With that dev over exaggerating that, that stuff that they did is playable on the PS3. It's oversimplification of what he was trying to explain. But you'll see the stuff on the PS4 too. Nothing's holding anything back. When it comes to this stuff. Gears 5. Crispy's going to perk up on this one, right? So the Xbox One was holding it back. Why? Because of the CPU. And what happened with the One X, right? The GPU. They turned around and used the power from the GPU to do this, right? So it's just basically smart devs finding new ways to utilize power that is unused and going from there, right? So we have optimizations. Same thing here. It's not a big deal. Just because it's last gen, it's not really holding it back. Yeah, you're not going to get the benefits and the bells and whistles of what we're playing now in current gen consoles, and I feel bad for those guys. But I've said it before: get an SSD. I've put out video. Hook up an SSD right to it. It'll speed your load times. You might not get
my brother
all the
did
extra
that.
stuff. Yeah, I mean, people are making a big deal out of it. Just don't understand. They're just the fanboys. You know what I mean? When you're a true gaming fan, you're just happy that, hey, you know what? We could still get these. We could still get our hands on something because,
Preach.
again, we have some kids that are playing Fortnite on a PS4 and are excited about it. But you know what? To each their own. At least they're excited about gaming.
Yeah.
You know, they're excited about playing something. And guess what? They can play it on a console now. They're not playing it on their phone. So that's a win for us, right? I'm kidding. But
I don't want the future on mobile items. Don't want it.
I'm kidding. So, but yeah, it's just they. It's not as big of a deal as these people are making it. It's a good thing.
Well, unfortunately, Dreadpool, it's become a console war shenanigans nonsense, and then we're just here, all of us just speaking and making sense with it. Before we move on to the big topic of the show, I gotta get in Crispy Bomb and get your opinion on this, brother. Is PlayStation 4 production a bigger deal than they're making out to, or is Sony making the right move? I mean, it seems as if there are some people who are gaming who actually never got a PlayStation 4. I don't know how that happened, but they didn't. And they're obviously going to sell to the masses who can't wait to get their hands on a PlayStation 5 and don't want to miss out on big games like Gran Turismo, like Horizon Forbidden West, and potentially God of War this year.
It just makes total sense. I mean, they don't have enough PS5s. You got to do what you got to do.
Right.
And you got these IPs coming out that, cost probably up in the hundreds of millions to make some of these games.
So on average, it's $250+ million for Sony's games. Each one of those AAA bombs.
Think about that number. That's a big number. And you got multiple of them possibly coming out this year. You got to sell them. And I think it was the right move. I think bad marketing in the beginning, really bad, but we've already killed that narrative. I do love how Sony kills the fanboy narrative themselves. It's always hilarious, but it's just one of those things. Like now they're probably kind of kicking themselves, not thinking of like maybe a little less powerful, iteration like Xbox did. I think, Series S is quietly going to be in more homes than people even realize. I've met a lot of people recently that have like, dude, like I just picked it up. I was just like, it's $300. Why not? I got Game Pass for 3 months for $1. So I paid plus taxes. I paid $350 for this console, and man, it runs really good. It's way better than the original, Xbox One or even the One X. And I was like, yeah, I know. We try to tell people this, like, the thing is a powerful little machine and it does the job. And I think, as people start realizing, hey, I can't get that PS5 or that Series X, they're going to grab that Series S because of the price point. So, PlayStation right now is in a rock and a hard place. They didn't think of this. They didn't, and who's to say that, they're not thinking of it now, but then they're like, hey, we're going to come out with the digital and the, the regular, they're going to be the same power. And, that $100, I guess, means more in the fact that you can't get them. You know what I mean? They don't have, the chipsets and everything are far, far higher than what a Series S needs. And that's probably why Xbox is pumping them out. So, this is when are we going to get out of this? Hopefully next year. I'm not going to hold my breath at this point because it was supposed to be this year. So it's one of those things, you got to get the consoles out there. You have 100 million already out there. You got to release these games on PlayStation 4. And, it's the right move at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Yep. And I absolutely agree. And I think that I think the only holdup here, and this has been a big problem for Sony in their PR department. I don't know if they're ever going to walk back this. I'm hoping at some point Sony understands that making your fan base pay a $10 fee for an upgrade onto your PlayStation 5 for their first party is a mistake. I do really hope that they learn from the bad PR because again, these companies make moves based on their competitors' reaction. Sony still hasn't learned that when Microsoft puts out a game and it's coming on to the Xbox, it's releasing on Xbox. If you buy it when you only have an Xbox One, the minute you put it on your Xbox Series, whatever, it gets the bump, and all it costs you is you taking the time and effort to push the download button. Oh, boop, there you go, you did it. I'm hoping that if this turns out to be one of those moves that Sony feels was the right call, and a lot of their games some that are announced and some maybe that aren't announced do wind up relatively releasing on a multitude of SKUs, meaning the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5, that they won't punish their players that couldn't get the PlayStation 5, settled for a PlayStation 4, and then of course now somehow got their hands on one and want to upgrade. And it's that $10 cost is I understand this business. It is silly though, Joe. It is.
And just to point this out, this comes from Game Informer, by the way, and shout out to Benji Sales who sent it our way. They talked about God of War on PC, and apparently all around Sony Studios, they all wanted the PC option.
Someone wrote that actually in the chat. Highlander 001. He actually said Barlog says PlayStation Studios themselves told Sony that they wanted their games on PC.
Yeah. Nice. So again, they see that there's money there.
Oh, there's a lot of money being left
PC
on the
growing.
table, dude.
Yeah, it makes.
If you think about it, it's a double hype, right? You get the old game on PC where you were never, if you didn't have PlayStation, you were never able to play this game. Now you have a whole new demographic playing this game, and then you have Valhalla coming out.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Indeed.
what happens? You got a whole new set of people hyped up. You're gonna, you get them to shift over to the console. It's just one of those things that people forget. When you do this stuff, what happens when they do certain movies? They re-release some of the older movies to get you hyped up again. Oh, this is the new extended director's cut, part 2. Da 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 da. Here's the new movie.
Yeah, dude, 100%. You're 100% onto something there, Dreadpool. I personally think that this was some short-sightedness of Sony, not reading the room correctly, because PC, listen, if you take all of Nintendo, all of Sony, and all of Xbox, guess what? You probably have a quarter of the people playing on PC. It's a monster market. It's why, and again, I don't want to get too much into it because we do have a big topic to get to. Microsoft was crucified for this. Oh, we're going to PC. Plenty. I'm not going to mention his name. He got thrown under the bus publicly by Phil Spencer. I'm not going to say who it is. You know who I'm talking about.
I know who you're talking about.
You know who I'm talking about. Starts with a C and goes with a G. Yeah. But I'll leave it at that. Let your imaginations run wild. And Phil, back then, this is 2014, folks, we're talking about. They had seen that PC is a viable source of income, and that's why you're getting everything. But listen, two things before we move on to topic number 3, and that's the big topic of the show. I'm seeing a lot of new faces here, and I absolutely want to say welcome with open arms. This is a show. This is a channel that is inclusive, not exclusive. Everyone is welcome, regardless of console, regardless of whatever else that separates us in this world. And we know that people still separate people for whatever reasons. That's not done on this channel. So if you're new, welcome. Folks, I am 618 subscribers from 10K. That is, I'm getting goosebumps talking about it. 618 is nothing. It is something because it's keeping me from 10K. So I can't say that. But if you're new and you're enjoying the banter, if you're enjoying the chat, which is the best chat, and it's policed by some of the best modders in the business, one being Lethal Papa, who continues to just be awesome. I mean, what could you say? The guy mods 1,000 people's shows, and he's here, and I'm very, very fortunate to have him here. So if you're new, please consider subscribing. We got 310 people on a Friday morning, a lot of new faces. Please help me get to that 10K. I wanted to join the ranks of my brothers over at the Iron Lords. I want to join the ranks of Xbox Era and so many others that saw the 10K mark last year. I want to hit it before the first quarter of 2022, and you can help me do that. But let's get into topic number 3. And folks, this is, it hurts, this one. And obviously by the advertising, we all know that one of the biggest games that were expected to release in the beginning of this year, in the spring of this year, has in fact been delayed. And of course, I'm talking about S.T.A.L.K.E.R 2. This is being developed by a very, very small team. This is not the first delay that has come across the bow. This is now the second big one. And it's so big that it's going to take them 7 more months to release this game. And it's big for a multitude of reasons. One, it is, as we have heard, this has not been confirmed, it is currently a timed exclusive. Now, we don't know that Microsoft doesn't on the back end offer some more monies to make it a permanent exclusive. We don't know any of those dealings, but it was put out there that it was, in fact, it's an exclusive. It is launching into Xbox Game Pass day and date. It is using the Unreal Engine 5, which is dope. But I want to read the press release that comes from this is directly from GSC Game World. This is from their team, and this is the exact press release that broke my heart. It says this: Stalkers, we have made a decision to postpone the release of Stalker 2 Heart of Chernobyl to December 8th, 2022. These additional 7 months of development are needed to fulfill our vision and achieve the desired state of the game. Stalker 2 is state of the game. Stalker 2 is the biggest project in the history of GSC, and it requires thorough testing and polishing. We are convinced that development should take as long as necessary. I agree 100%, especially in the case of such a project. This decision is not an easy one, but we are doing the best possible to deliver you a game that can live up to the expectations. With more information, updates, showcases coming soon, we have an exciting and important year ahead. Thank you for your patience and understanding. With complete love, the GSC Game World team. Now, Joe, I'll go to you first. You are a special guest. This is it's heartbreaking for me personally because this is a game that I really wanted to play. It's still releasing in 2022, but of course at the end of the year, this was going to be a big Game Pass game in the spring. Couple of questions for you. One, what are your thoughts on the delay? Me personally, and I'm going to do something nerdy here, folks.
Oh, yeah?
I'm going to do something very nerdy. I'm going to bring up the godfather of gaming, Mr. Miyamoto. If you don't know who he is has been an influence in so many developers' lives, specifically that have worked with him and have grown up reading this quote and understanding. And as I quote, this is what he said many moons ago: a delayed game is eventually good, but a rushed game is forever bad. And again, what could you say about the godfather of gaming? It is a quote that everyone uses constantly. I wish, I think if the fact that he's not getting $1 every time someone says it almost is a crime in itself. But it is a truth. Joe, development is tough. Development during a pandemic, well, even tougher, ladies and gentlemen. But this is a game that was on Microsoft's short list of being important to Xbox Game Pass, important to the platform because it was a timed exclusive. Are you disappointed that they need these additional 7 months, man? That's a lot. I mean, this is not a 30-day delay or 60 days. This is a 7-month delay, dude. Like, wow. What are your thoughts?
First of many, and expect many more.
Yeah, dude. I think you're onto something.
Yeah, we did like the predictions on the trophy room this week, and the question was, how many games do you think are going to get delayed, whether it's outside of 2022 or inside 2022? Kyle said, and I thought it was a very conservative number, 4. I go anywhere upwards of 8. I think we're going to see a lot of games being pushed back to 2023 for one reason or the other. And it's again, the global situation that we find ourselves in. We're really now truly seeing it at its
more
at
so
its
you're
further.
hearing about it. Like more and more developers are talking about how difficult it is to go from in-person development to, hey, I'm working with Johnny O that lives on the other side of the world, and we're still trying to figure out how to get that done.
Yeah. Like even when it comes to like the February games that we're all excited for. I remember like a week or two back, there was murmurings of one of these games getting pushed back a couple of weeks. Because again, like towards the end of development and the beginning of development are usually the hardest parts, and you need that communication there. Yeah. And when it's all done through Zoom, it's
not the same.
It's difficult. It's very difficult. So yeah, I expect more of this, and just be happy with what you got. February, all those games are safe that'll come out this year for sure. You got Horizon, you got the Elden Ring to look forward to. Dying Light's 500 hours. All right, you're gonna be fine. So when it comes to this game, I didn't really have hype for it. It just doesn't look like my game, but they need more time. And the only thing Xbox can do is they do have now a lull. It's seemingly from now till Starfield, and how do they fill that lull?
This is a mirror image.
That's
Joe.
the exciting part.
Yeah, well, it's a mirror image of what happened last year. Microsoft kind of started out a little slow. The first 5.5 months was a little, I don't want to say rocky, because they had a lot of Game Pass titles that kind of pulled some of the stress off of not having those first party games. We have Redfall releasing. I believe that's going to come in the summer, so that's closer to that 6-month mark.
Excuse me.
I believe it's July. You have obviously Starfield, the big bomb. That's going to be, I believe that's on par for holiday. I think we're going to get a chance to see it at E3, and then we're going to get an official release date from God Howard. I think that the team that's going to be delivering the next Motorsport is going to have a lot to show. I believe that is also, again, this is just my opinion, I think October that we get that, again, second half of the year. We also have Deathloop coming the second half of the year, because again, I know people are going to be something, it came out in the PlayStation 5, sucks. Listen, there are a lot of people. I'm fortunate. I have a PlayStation 5, so I bought it there. I played it, and it's freaking awesome, man. If you have a PS5, you could probably pick it up for $30. Go get that game.
Absolutely.
But if you want to wait for Game Pass, which I don't blame you if you do, it's going to come in the second half of the year because of that 1-year exclusivity. So we're going to be waiting for some first party stuff, but that doesn't mean that there's not going to be some big titles being in there in Game Pass that will be considered by many. Well, that's exclusive because I don't got to pay anything to get it. And people still, people still correlate free with the $15 a month, because it kind of does feel that way.
There's free marketing behind Game Pass where, like, I'm going to be real as rain with you. How many of us remember Outriders much? But Outriders was big in the moment.
Yes.
Right?
And it was, what they did with that game is they pulled a Sony, Joe.
Yeah.
Destiny, what the marketing was so fierce and so tenacious that it felt like a PlayStation exclusive. I had friends, oh, that's on PlayStation only. No, it's not. And you had to school people. Well, Outriders, it did release on a PlayStation. It absolutely did. But it got all the hype because it was surprising that it jumped into Xbox Game Pass.
And now take a look at like January, right? Like in all the games that are coming out here, you got a Mass Effect trilogy, right?
Yeah,
or Legendary, whatever. I know it came out last year, but that's 3 amazing games there for free 99, it seems like, right? And then you got Hitman, the Hitman trilogy, and in
January
retrospect,
20th. Holy cow, Joe. Yeah,
which
dude.
everybody, you need to play this game. If you look at it in the most objective way, you're like, it's not the biggest deal in the world because like I literally got Hitman 1 and 2 for about $15 on the PSN sale last year. But when you take a look at like Hitman 3, which is a stellar game and its predecessor, so you could get caught up to it, that's hundreds of hours of content. Hundreds of hours. I put 120 hours in a Hitman 3 alone.
Wow.
And there was not a dull moment for me. That's what you're going to probably see Xbox do through this first half as we approach closer to Starfield. Because I think Starfield is the most definitive one that's coming out this year. Right? That I don't think a delay is coming for that game. Or who knows, right? Or I'm most confident. So like, yeah, I think this is a year, and it goes the same for Sony. This is a year of delays. Sony sees, God of War Ragnarok. They want this game to come out this year, but if it slips, they're gonna have that Last of Us remake that are for people that are watching the HBO show.
Yeah,
so
good point, dude. Great point. Yeah,
these companies are prepared to flip on a dime. Depending on the circumstances. So,
well, with PlayStation specifically, let's say, for instance, for shits and giggles, that God of War is in a position where, well, do we release it and patch it, or do we do what Sony does best and release a masterpiece? And I believe that they're like, well, we'll release it in March of 23, and it's a big one, right? And that's the thing with Sony, like they're having what happened with Microsoft last year, where they had all these big games that were delayed from the year before. They all came at once, right? And they had the most. Microsoft Game Studios was highest awarded studio of 2021. If folks, if you didn't know that, yes, they won all those awards. Well, Sony is in a position where the Last of Us remake, that's been going on for quite some time. And and we've heard that they're done. They're just polishing right now. If God of War, let's say, slips, well, they just take God of War out and they put Last of Us in there, and they add factions, which they're going to charge $70 for, which is, I want to punch Sony, but that's probably what you're going to get in the package. You're going to get factions, and you're going to get the Last of Us remake. They just take out one piece, they put another one in.
Yeah. It's all about maneuvering, and these companies have the money to maneuver depending on.
And that's why Microsoft has specifically, thanks to Jeffy Grubb, who informed us that they have billions with a B and an S set aside for these Game Pass deals that are going to take the place early in 2022 of major exclusive first-party exclusives that they can. Hey, guess what? Hey, we're get Game Pass over here. Oh, and by the way, you can get an S. There you go.
And that's the thing too. A lot of these games that are popular, like let's just say Elden Ring happens. Let's get crazy. Let's put the crazy
by the way,
hands on
I did an X Vlog episode 11 yesterday, late in the afternoon. Yeah, and Elden Ring in Game Pass is the topic of discussion, and I broke down why it should happen and why it should be priority for Phil Spencer and company.
Well, yeah. So, let's take a look at that, and then after that, you go check out Boom's video. From's gonna need that check. They're going to need that money because the one thing that From Software does is print cash. It's why they don't put their games on any service, because their games have just the tales of a lifetime. It's kind of like the Nintendo equivalent. That's how popular and legendary and renowned those games are.
Well, I mean, Joe, to your point, if you didn't know, Dark Souls 3, They were announced last year. 10 million copies sold,
Nuts.
not shipped.
So yeah, like it, they'll, let's just say Microsoft rolls the red carpet out for them. They're like, whatever sales we're going to miss from day 1 to day 90, however long this tail is, pay us. And
yes,
hey, it's a
even
huge
broke
name.
down, dude. I put Amy Hood on the side for 24 hours. I said, Amy, go have a vacation, take it easy. And I took over for her. And I was wearing the CFO cap yesterday during the video, and I broke down the check that I would write and how many downloads would I include a bonus afterwards. It's a really well thought out video. One of my favorites that I did because I think that they have a real shot on doing it. And Xvlog, the Xvlog project is something that I started this year. It's VOD content. It's not live, and people are really digging it. So I'm very proud of what I did. And Joe, thank you for that, because it led into me selling my own brand. But listen, love what you bring to
synergy.
To the table. Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's why you can tell we're brothers. We're brothers. We're not really brothers, but we're brothers. Fuzzy, let's get your opinion on this. Stalker 2 delayed, and not delayed in a way that you're like, oh, okay, well, I can wait 30 days, or I can wait a month or a month and a half. Wow, we're getting a 7-month delay, but I have to say that, this falls into something that I have coined, and someone's going to take it and by all means use it. I'm calling it the Halo Infinite effect. And I'm saying that because Halo Infinite, yes, it is missing co-op. Yes, it is missing Forge. But god damn it, that single player and multiplayer are fantastic, and they're good. And I would even dare say they're great because of the delay.
Yeah.
Now, what we heard with Starfield was Starfield could have shipped last year, but God Howard, this is something that he's been working on for 2 decades. If you didn't know, it's just a 20-year game that he's been writing and keeping in his little book that I would love to get a look at and see what ideas are in there. And he wants this to release on the new engine, perfect. And they're getting almost 12 months of polish to a game. Now, you take this game, for instance, again, I think it's falling into the conversation of the Halo Infinite effect. Yes, is a delay hurtful? Sure. But when this game launches, and it is the final project a product that team, that small team wanted, it is going to be one of those games that in many circles, not so much the Game Awards because it's coming out a little bit late, but the gaming media may be like, wow, this is definitely Game of the Year material. What are your thoughts on the delay?
Well, I was real excited for this thing to come out, and I guess April was the original time frame that they had looked at, but the delay, like you said, that quote earlier, it's better for them to do that than to have, like a Cyberpunk 2077 deal. Although I think this one is just strictly geared for the next generation consoles. I might be wrong on that. It might be just Series X and S and PC only, but still, it's better for them to take the time to bring it to the vision that they originally, came up with for this game. But on Microsoft's end, they have a lot of options that they can kind of slot in. And there's one that we kind of talked about prior, like on previous screen rooms, where Age of Empires definitely seems like it's going to be something that comes to console probably sooner rather than later. And I
wouldn't be surprised if it takes its place.
Yeah, because I kind of think that May was the window that they were going to, announce that or release that on console, and who knows, that might get bumped up to April to kind of fit in. But with a lot of other games, like you have, although I'm not sure the timing on Suicide Squad or Arkham Knights or anything along those lines, those might be other games that they look to, put like day and date in Game Pass.
I am hearing Arkham Knights. To be honest with you, I have heard from a particular source that Arkham Knights is a real possibility, if not already done.
Yeah. And then you have like Dying Light, which we know that they've put some money into the studio, and
50 million.
It just seems like it would be a perfect timing fit. But that being February, like Babbitt was saying, you're going to have plenty of time. So any gaps in the lineup as far as not having something to play, the 500 hours, hey, just explore more on the map, explore more in the world, fall into a lot more of the side story, and you won't miss the month of April at all, especially when you got like so many other games to play. You got, Horizon out there around that time and stuff, like, well, coming out in February, but people are still going to be probably, 100% in that, or trying to get their platinum for that one. But on the Xbox side of things, I think this is where, kind of like you said, mirror image of 2021, lean on third parties, get some surprises in there day and date on Game Pass. And I think that'll keep, the Xbox ecosystem pretty happy. But sad to see, but it's for the better. I much rather it be, bug free or as close to bug free as possible, as opposed to, man, this is a great looking game, looks awesome.
But it just
But these
falls
brain broken
under.
bugs
Right.
are, yeah.
Yeah.
Like the Ascent was kind of that thing where it was like, play it solo. Oh, it was awesome. Looks awesome. Still to this day, looks awesome. But that multiplayer, not in every case, but in some cases, it just seemed like, oh yeah, this this ain't it. So yeah, the extra time to polish is definitely for the best. We see it in a lot of these games that have gotten delays, except for Cyberpunk, but that's more so the board than I think the dev team on that one. But that's a whole nother story. But yeah,
Also, just quick aside, I'm looking at a Sunset Overdrive 2 GIF from Shinobi. If PlayStation wants to win 2022, as you guys know, I don't believe in winning a year, but I will make an exception here. If they put Sunset Overdrive on PlayStation, it's done. Wrap it up.
You know what?
Put the Xbox in the coffin. It's over.
Yeah, no. I'll say this. First of all, I absolutely expect that Sunset Overdrive remake HD PS5 version is releasing. I think that's a done deal. I think that first of all, let's welcome in BitCloud Gaming, and we just happen to be talking about the Insomniac Games, who is also rumored to be working on a remake or remaster of Resistance, our favorite game. That's another one of my top 5s of PlayStation 3. Absolutely loved it. Listen, why wouldn't you put a Sunset Overdrive remake? That could be done by a small team. That could be done. Hey guys, listen, we're gonna make an HD version of PlayStation 5. Sure, I'll get on that project. And they put a team of 20, 30, 40 people into that, and they make that game. It's not to do an HD port would not be hard for the team over at Somniac, and it would be, oh my God, killer news. I wouldn't say killer like somehow Microsoft's going to fall off the map. They have a lot going on, but that was an exclusive. And you know what? Hey, I'll say this. If you are an Xbox guy or gal, and you didn't support this, well, that's the reason why this game is going to be on PlayStation 5. Because if I was PlayStation, I'd stick the dagger in even deeper. And you didn't support. I supported it. I beat that game. Did you beat the game?
I bought an Xbox for that goddamn game.
Well, there you go. There you go. Big Club, before we get you in, we get you on in here. Let's get Fuzzy Belvedere. We just talked Fuzzy. I'm sorry. Let's get Dreadpool into the conversation. Dread. The delay of Stalker 2, I think it might have caught Microsoft a little bit flat-footed, because I think that they've talked about this coming out in Xbox Game Pass. It was their big game for April. We're still in January, so they can pivot and make another game, that they dropped the money on, that Jeff Grubb talked about them having set aside specifically for these deals, and make a big deal for the replacement of this while this comes out in December. What are your thoughts on the delay? Are you disappointed?
Well, anybody's disappointed when it comes to something that they're looking forward to that gets pushed back. You know what I mean? At the same time, you have to be a realist and realize that, do you want this game to come out? I mean, we talked about Halo, right? I would have taken Halo the way they showed it just because I wanted Halo that bad. How many times have I said I wanted Star Wars? Give me a remake of the original NES or Super Nintendo versions of Star Wars. Just put those out there and bring them up. I didn't care because I wanted something, right? But at the same time, what did we get with Halo? What did we get with the Jedi one that just came out?
Jedi Fallen Order?
Yeah, Fallen Order. So we got good games, but had we had we had gotten what we wanted right away, what we would have gotten, crap. So it's one of those things. It's like, let's let them make the best game that they can make, and if they have to push it back, let them push it back, right? Because
Indeed.
we'll actually be happier in the long run. We would have been happy to get those games at that point in time, but how truly would we be happy, and for how long? Now we can actually enjoy the game, enjoy the vision that they wanted for their game. So we need to remember that just because we want it now doesn't mean it's going to happen now, right? We're in the age of, I want it yesterday. It should have been here yesterday. Everything should have been done yesterday. But for me to do anything, it'll be someday tomorrow or in the future. Give me a couple weeks. You know what I mean? But we want everything else, everybody else to do it yesterday. So when it comes to this, it's a disappointment. But at the same time, like I said, realization. Let them make the game, and at the same time, when you look at it, how many other games does Microsoft have, or Xbox have in the works that were being basically polished, right? We're just going to let this one sit for another year. We'll polish it. We won't even announce it, and let them, hey, you know what? How close are we to polishing that mirror that we've been shining in the shoe?
Yeah.
So all the military guys that know about shoe shines, know what
Yeah.
I'm talking
Unfortunately, I do.
about, right? So everybody knows that there's a difference between shiny and a mirror polish on leather. There's not
hard
nothing...
to do, but PS, by the way.
Yes, hard to
really
do.
hard to do.
And that's just with the shoe polish. No cheating, no floor shine.
No cheating. No, that's I worked hours on my boots. Hours. It's
right?
Just obscene amount of time. But yeah, you're absolutely right. I think you're onto something. We've seen more times than not an Xbox or a PlayStation or even a Nintendo game come out and just be on the cusp of being, wow, that should be Game of the Year, worthy, and it falls right on. And you're like, it would have been there if this, I wasn't falling through the game, or I didn't walk through a wall, or I'm getting, eaten by a monster through a door, right?
And And how many games have been fixed afterwards when they've had bad launches, right? And who's still playing them?
That's right? Yep. There you go.
You lost that momentum, and you don't want that. You want to have that good momentum and a good memory for a lot of people, because a lot of people are like, yeah, I played it, but have you played it now? Now it's a year later, and they've cleaned it up. They fixed all these issues. They've done this, they've done that, and it's like, nah, I got no interest. I've already moved on. Yeah, you don't want to do that.
I absolutely agree. Crispy Bomb, let's get your opinion on this, brother. Big miss for Microsoft, or will they just pivot like they do, give them the time to fix this game, make it the best game it could be, and then somehow replace it with something big that may not have been on the table initially?
I look at this and I say, what is going on in the background? Because I feel like somebody from Microsoft went over there and said, wow, this game's really good. Can we make it look even better? Is that
maybe
possible?
Maybe.
Because, if it's UE5, this thing's kind of just launching. You know what I mean? So I think there's a lot of tool sets that they might not even have yet, still, because they've kind of just trickled this thing out. And now it's, kind of become like a standard. And it's like, well, let's just make this game be as incredible as possible. Because 7 months, that's a long time for a delay, especially when it was supposed to release soon. You know what I'm saying? So it's one of those things. It's like, if the game launches like almost perfection, looks even better than what we saw in some of the trailers, I think people are going to have nothing to say about it. If it releases with some kind of issues, there's going to be a problem, because you already delayed 7 months.
Yep.
So you look at right now, I'd say, if Microsoft's going to throw a bag of money, throw it at a Techland and get Dying Light 2 in there.
Indeed. Yep.
That will consume people. And if you haven't played Dying Light 1, you can go and play that. And that game is absolutely, it's an amazing game.
Still an amazing experience.
Yeah. And this one.
Scary as hell, by the way.
Oh, yeah. It can. And I'll tell you, some of the parkour
Don't
stuff
go out at night.
Well, and some of the parkour stuff as well. Like, because you're going against the light. Like, dude, sometimes you got to get to this spot, there's a ton of stuff you need, and you get up there and it turns dark, and then I forget what the hell they're called, but they come out and you're like, oh shit.
Yeah,
And
you're afraid
sitting
to
there.
move. Like,
You
really
turn
are.
into
It's
like
crazy.
I got caught up on the bridge. The bridge up there at night, and they all came out, and I'm sitting there in the corner right off the edge of the bridge, and one, like, I was just sitting there still. Eventually one saw me, and then I fell off the bridge and died. And I'm like,
Once I saw those red eyes, I noped the hell out of that game.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that
Right.
game is terrifying. And you know something? Look, again, we've been hearing it a couple times. We said it during the show. We know for a fact, and I went looking for it. I could not find who said that, but I know that they injected $50 million into Techland to help them finish this game. And I say they, I'm talking about Microsoft. So I'm assuming, and of course I can make an ass out of myself by saying so, it would make sense, dollars and cents, which is what we're talking about, that Microsoft said, hey, listen, here's $50 million, folks. I don't have $50 in my pocket right now. $50 million is a lot of money. If they did, in fact, do that,
yeah,
it would make perfect sense that one of the stipulations in this, hey, here's a bag of money. This will help you finish this. This is delay number 5. Take your time with it. Game Pass day and date. It almost makes sense, right? It almost makes too much sense.
And you even have the Ubisoft Plus, whatever they're going to do there.
Yes,
You know
that's true. Well,
so,
you have Extraction. Is Extraction this month or is it next month?
I think it's next month.
So it is February. Yeah, they could have a monster February.
Rainbow Six.
Yeah,
that's like in a week, I think.
Oh my god! So it's this. Yeah. Okay, wow, man. January is serious.
Still not preloaded. That game does not look.
I'm going to give it the old college effort because I don't have to. I would not spend $70 on the game, and I'm not saying.
Well, here's the thing: they dropped that game to $40, like back in November.
Oh yeah.
So they're just like, listen, please, and if you're a Rainbow Six Siege player, you get like all the people unlocked already.
Yeah,
like they're desperate for people to play this game.
It's January 20th.
Oh, there you go, right along with Hitman. Yeah. Gee whiz, we're talking about the day.
Yeah,
wow,
play Hitman instead, guys.
yeah, absolutely.
I'm a Hitman stan. Go get that game.
Yeah. January 20th, all 3, and definitely play 3. I only put a couple hours into it, and it was so freaking good. It was gorgeous.
The mansion. Chef's kiss.
The one I believe it was in India. The floor, the marble flooring, you could see your face in it. It's just bonkers. It's just absolutely bonkers. But BitCloud Gaming, first of all, brother, welcome to the party, bro. How the heck are you? You are muted, and we don't hear you, brother. I don't understand what happened.
Muted, sir.
Yeah, well, you're muted somewhere. You're not muted here, but you're muted somewhere.
How about now?
There you go. Now we got you in on the conversation, brother. Well, first of all, welcome. Hopefully everyone is well at home, which is, don't even sweat it, dude. As we get everyone out of here, we have 325 people here still, which is pretty damn awesome. What are your thoughts on the delay of Stalker 2? Again, big game releasing for Xbox. It is an exclusive. It is an Xbox Game Pass day and date. Do you think Microsoft is going to pivot and use some of these millions, or I should say billions, that they have set aside to potentially get another game in its place for April?
You would hope so. I mean, nobody likes to see something get delayed, especially with even Joe said it when we were talking in the DM. It's not really the craziest, like, luxurious year in terms of content. It's pretty dry if you think about it, if it actually doesn't drop. So I would say, it would be smart to get some kind of deal, get something to happen. This is what I said again. Like, a lot of people get mad when we bring this up, but they should be in the conversation when it comes to other means. You know what I mean? Like, Sony has superhero games. Where's Microsoft's superhero games? To fill the void. They really need to be in more conversations of that particular sort. I mean, granted, we got third-party games like Dying Light 2 dropping. We got a lot of other stuff to look forward to, but in terms of your first party, it is kind of like
a light year. It's a light year.
It's very like it. A lot of people are saying, like, well, maybe 2023 is their year. I mean, granted, that's a fair assessment. We could say, like, let's say they probably have something more for 2023, like Avowed, for example, that might drop in 2023. Yeah. Let's say Stalker. There you go. Let's say if Stalker 2 does get delayed to 2023, then you have Stalker 2 for 2023. Yeah. But also, you got to also think about what Sony has in 2023. What does Sony have? Sony has one massive hitter that just can't be touched at this point. And that's Spider-Man.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that's a big
That's
one.
a
Yep,
big deal.
100%.
Everybody saw
I
the Venom
can't freaking
reveal.
wait.
Yeah, the Venom reveal by itself, it's going to guarantee that game is going to sell on
I
par,
like Venom,
if not more.
brother, but the for me the reveal was Craven.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I love Venom, but the Craven one was like, oh man, now we're talking.
And a lot of people don't even caught on to that. They don't even know who that was. I'm like,
they don't even know.
That's
only MCU fans know.
How did you miss that? You know, it's like that was
well,
blatant.
a lot of people were saying it was somebody else. I'm sitting going, guys, no,
dude. The minute I heard the accent, I was like, that's freaking Craven the
Hunter. That's
Hunter.
Craven the Hunter.
Yeah.
If it ain't Craven the Hunter, I'll be blown away that that's not Craven the Hunter, but that's Craven the Hunter. And the way the MCU set up, we're about to see him sooner than we expect. If you if you've been watching the MCU movies lately, I don't know if you guys saw the new Spider-Man movie. Fantastic, but a lot of hints. It's great. It's great. So I'll leave it at that. Is it like a bad deal for Microsoft? Like, are they hurting? Nah, I don't want to say that. I think they would be fine, but it is, again, like we always say, it's unfortunate that we're not going to get the game on the day. But as history has proven, a delayed game, that works is better than a game that's rushed and doesn't work.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you want the game to be memorable. You don't want it to be forgettable for bugs. That's what you don't want.
Well, I don't even want to say you want to be memorable. You want to be memorable for the right reasons. I'll say that.
Yeah,
not memorable for the wrong. Because look at Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk by itself hurt a lot of the reputation of CD Projekt Red.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want that for Stalker 2. So
no, especially because they're a lot smaller team than CD Projekt Red, for sure.
And that's all the reason why they should take their time and make sure the game works. And they said that the game could look better. I think you guys said Unreal Engine 5. If it's Unreal Engine 5,
it is.
I want them to take their time on this, because Unreal Engine 5 has been blowing me away with every single thing that we've been seeing for it. I'm still waiting to see what Gears are going to look like on Unreal Engine 5. We see what Hellblade 2 looks like. It looks fantastic. We've seen that game, Wukong Black Myth. Still waiting on that. Waiting on that. That looks amazing. There's a lot of crazy stuff that we're seeing with Unreal Engine 5, and it's really it really does make you go, damn, you know what? What else you got? What else could you possibly do with this engine? And it's really, really good, the scalability. So
yeah, absolutely. Listen, folks, that's gonna be the show for today. We're closing in on the 2-hour mark. Hopefully, this started off your Friday on the correct foot. Last super chat of the day comes to us from a very good friend, generous friend of the program, Chaos Knight, drops a $5 super chat and says, Xbox will roll this generation like a snowball. It'll start out small and it'll be huge by the end of the generation with all of its studios. Indeed, I 100% agree. But let's get to the outros. And we're going to start first with my brother making his grandest return. He hit me up in a DM, and I was so happy to have him here today. Mr. Badbit, by all means, sell your brand. Tell everyone about the trophy room. And more importantly, that monster interview that you have coming, man, because holy crap, it's a big one, especially if you played Marvel's The Guardians of the Galaxy. My God, what a great game. I'm playing through it now. I just got up to the part with Cosmo.
Cosmo.
Freaking awesome. But just talk about it, Joe. Talk about it.
Yeah, I am super, super proud of this week's episode of the Trophy Room, which y'all should check out. It is what I envision the show being when I think about it in my head. And John reached out to us back in December. He's like, I want to be on this show. And John McLaren, he is the voice of Star-Lord in the Guardians of the Galaxy game. And we had an amazing 45-minute conversation that y'all could check out this week on the Trophy Room. And when we say we have even bigger guests somehow lined up, we have bigger guests even lined up. And it's no slouch. What tremendous insight from him. He is such an incredibly humble human. And let me tell you something. We interviewed him literally the day after they won big at the Game Award. So it was an awesome conversation. Y'all should check out, again, The Trophy Room, a PlayStation podcast made by the players for the players, where each and every Thursday, me and my best friend Kyle talk about the latest, the greatest in all things PlayStation. And yeah, man, it's been a busy couple of months, but it's awesome to finally have some time to sit down with y'all, talk about games, and Yeah, be on the lookout at Mr. Badbit as well for some big news in the coming weeks, personal wise. So
yes, looking
be on the
forward to that,
lookout for
Joe.
that.
Yeah, 100%. I know, but I can't tell. But yes, very, very, very excited
Yeah.
for that. Fuzzy Belvedere, brother, thank you so much for becoming a part of the Breakfast with Boom crew on a weekly basis. Love the energy and information, and of course, history that you bring with you. Tell everyone where they could check you out on other programs. Tell them about your personal YouTube channel, and where could people reach out to you on social media.
Well, it's so awesome being here with you guys. Thank you so much for having me. It's always great to, get to talk about our favorite hobby here, and it's great to have Mr. Badbit back here as well. For those that want to see my ramblings about various video games, particularly Forza and as of late, Insurgency Sandstorm, you can find me on Twitter at fuzzy_Belvedere. Just search Fuzzy Belvedere pretty much anywhere, YouTube, Instagram. You'll be able to find me. You can also find me on Mondays with Mav on Fun Speculations channel doing tidbits where we go over the weekend game releases. You can also find me on Saturdays at FSP at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Fun Speculation channel with Mav and Just Gaming Key. And then later that night, you can catch me with PTK Blam, Pong Soul, and Centurion 1307 on the Shop podcast, where we just talk shop on gaming in general. And always look forward to being here on Friday mornings with you guys. It's a good way to get the weekend started of gaming. So glad to be with you guys. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, brother. And Dreadpool, by all means, sell your brand, brother. Talk about Breaking Bread with Dread, your YouTube channel, and where can people reach out to you on social media?
Well, first of all, we got to thank the chat for everybody that came in, all the newcomers that have been popping up. You guys have been great.
We had 3
today.
$250 here, man. The max stats. That's a lot for a small channel, and specifically one that is Friday morning. So yeah, man, thank you for that. Big shout out to the chat, which even without Lethal Papa, who got a shout out before, was really well behaved. No nonsense, no cursing, no shenanigans, and thank you for that.
Yeah, I mean it's amazing how people are so great and welcoming, right? We've been promoting this channel this way this whole time, and it's just funny how it still holds true. So thank you to all the chat. Now for me, Dreadpool everywhere. It's probably O's or zeros depending on where you're looking. But the easiest way is linktree.com/Dreadpool, all letters, all caps, and it'll have all the links to everything I do, merch, Breaking Bread with Dread. It has all that stuff. So, and then for the Breaking Bread with Dread part, it's on podcasts everywhere: Spotify, Apple, Google, Outbox, Castbox, Radio Public. I mean, it's like 18 different places and counting. It's building up. So definitely check it out. I got some. We actually have one of the listeners that come into the chat. I've got him scheduled up to be set up at some point in time, so that'll be a nice one to see. A different perspective. Not the normal podcasters that we talk with. A listener that listens. So it'll be good to see more personalities, and that's what I'm trying to do. It's all about personalities and getting to learn about people. Wednesday nights, Gaming Beyond the Box.
Yeah, with Wilmy Hood, good friend of the program.
And tomorrow with Husk on that same channel, we are doing the creator feature with Mike Mullis from Next Level Gaming.
Nice,
so
dude. That's awesome.
We're going to have a good show there for that, good interview. Yeah, going to do some current gaming, some retro gaming, so it's going to be a little bit of everything. And then obviously right here, Friday mornings, 10 a.m., Breakfast with Boom. Don't miss us out.
Yes. Well, thank you very much for that. Definitely appreciate you being a part of this program. Crispy Bomb, brother, talk about where could people listen to the best voice in the business? Where could people reach out to you and strike up a conversation on social media?
Shout out to the chat, gentlemen, as usual. Always a pleasure. Joe, great to see you, buddy. And at Crispy Bomb on Twitter, Crispy Bomb 28, Xbox Live. You can find me on Retro Renegades Tuesday night, 7 p.m. We got the next podcast Thursday, 8 p.m. prime time. Of course, back here on Breakfast with Boom, Friday, 10 a.m.
Well, thank you so much for that. And last and no way least, someone that has exploded on the scene in 2021, and I expect even greater things in 2022. BitCloud Gaming, you're working exclusively with IGN. You're having some of the biggest names in gaming guest appear on your incredible podcast. Talk about that and tell everyone where they can subscribe to. And I left him off the list. He was another guy that hit the 10K mark, a well-deserved mark in 2021, and 10,000 subs of 10,000 of anything is big, but 10,000 subs on YouTube is a monster accomplishment. Double Barrel Gaming is going to hit that this year. You hit it last year. Tell everyone where they can continue to help grow your channel, and where could people reach out to you on social media?
Yeah, sorry I was late. Had a meeting in the midst, but I had to jump through. I saw my brother Mad Bit in the building. I was like, oh no, it's been a minute. I gotta show up. I don't care if it's 20 minutes. So good to see Bad Bit here. I'm very proud of you, good sir, and everything you're doing. So congrats to you.
I'm muted. Likewise, dude. Likewise.
But congrats to you. I would say we're doing the show today, but I'm actually going to take a break for today after the news I just got. It's pretty. No, you don't understand. You don't understand, Boom. It's pretty. It's. I'm gonna tell you guys off air. You're gonna be shocked. But the news I got yesterday, I'm like, you know what? Let me just not do the show today because I'm gonna get overloaded and just move on to next week. But we'll be back next week. My channel, BitCloud Gaming, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter. If you guys want to get some of the best interviews on the scene right now, please check me out there. We always take questions. We do the whole 9 yards. I've interviewed multiple developers from Sony, of course, Microsoft, and of course, it's going to get even bigger in 2022. When I tell you this year is about to be a year to remember, I promise you it's going to be a year to remember. And who knows, you might see us, quote unquote, at the beach.
Very interesting. I love the subtle hints
there. But then again, you never know when a boy might come by.
I know what you're talking about. A lot of people may miss that, but
appreciate you guys. Appreciate you guys watching. Joe, I'm gonna get you on. Definitely.
Yeah,
we got to catch up. It's been too long.
Absolutely,
Crispy, of course. I haven't forgot. So we don't get Crispy on there, but it's a lot of stuff. Super busy. Obviously becoming a freelancer with IGN has taken a lot of time off my plate, but at the same time, I'm happy that the doors is opened and
absolutely,
very proud. So
awesome to see everybody succeed, man.
Yeah, it is. It's nice. Really, I said this a couple of shows ago, specifically on the Xbox Factor podcast, which that show just crossed 6K views, which is freaking bananas. I think that this is going to be the year of the small content creator. I think that we are, as a collective group, now starting to break into the market because people want variety. People want, they want to talk about, they want to listen to their favorite brand being talked about. They also want to stay away from the drama podcasts, which we've seen. I'm not going to mention names because we don't do that in this program. If you see someone rocket to stardom because they use hate mongering as their force, they're going to be like a shooting star. They're going to be very bright for a hot second, and then they're going to phase out, and they're going to get stuck.
There's a thing,
and they're not going to be able to grow.
There's a ceiling for all that.
There is absolutely a ceiling. But again, thank everyone for tuning in. Thanks all to the new viewers. Lots of new faces here. Again, if you are someone that just found the program, we are 618 away from 10K. We're close. I mean, like freaking, I can taste it close. Help me get there. And of course, I'm going to close out the program with something that is important to me. Hopefully one day it will be important to you. And that's something that my dad, who taught us very young. And he said, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, and I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. Have a great weekend. And it's going to be quite snowy here in the East Coast. Stay warm. We'll see you next week on the newest episode of I was going to say the Xbox Factor podcast of the Breakfast with
You got too
Boom.
many shows, sir.
Yeah, I know. I really do. Take care, everyone. Have a great weekend.